All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we got some bad news because it looks like a certain fight card is being shut down, and that is the fight card that was going to be held on December 9th with Showtime. And therefore, there's not going to be several fighters on that fight card that we're not going to see on Showtime anymore, and we don't know when we're going to see him next. And one of those people are Jaron Ennis. But unfortunately, one thing that this showed is that Jaron Ennis is officially taking the place of Errol Spence Jr. And a situation that Errol Spence Jr. had been in for a very long time is now where Jaron Ennis finds himself to be. Let's talk about that in this video. Channel, it's your boy Fanon, and in this video we're going to be in the 147-pound division, where one of the greatest fighters in boxing today, or the best fighters in boxing today, is now officially, in my book, become officially the first true boogeyman in the sport since Errol Spence Jr. was getting ducked by the entire 147-pound division. And that young man's name is Jaron Ennis. As a Showtime fight card falls apart, another Showtime fight card is unable to find an opponent for him because they will not get in the ring with him, which makes it necessary. And I'm telling you, this is an appeal to the IBF, to the WBA, to the WBC, to the WBO for what's really good for the sport of boxing. And that is, if Terrence Crawford is not going to fight at 147 pounds anymore, and he's going to move up to 154 pounds, if he doesn't have an intention on fighting Jaron Ennis or fighting Stanionis or fighting Keith Thurman maybe for the WBC next, if he's not going to do that, it is time to take those belts away so that we don't have another travesty go on in the sport of boxing, and that is the snuffing out or the slowing down of one of the premier fighters in the boxing who can solve a lot of the problems that people say they had that is going on in boxing. Now, before I get into the details of it, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you guys so much for your continued support. It really makes a huge difference to the channel. But let's get into this. All right, so Showtime goes out of business. They're not going to be putting on any more sport. My opinion is bad news for the sport, but it could be good news. It could work out and be a situation that could turn out well. If there's fewer networks, that means there's fewer spots for fighters to fight, which means the better fighters would fight each other because they would necessarily take slots away from lesser fighters. Unfortunately, that trend has not begun yet. And in fact, it looks like one of the best fighters in boxing and one of the future of boxing, and a guy that, in my opinion, could really take boxing very far and get, a lot of interest behind the sport because he is a super talent. He is what boxing is. This dude is what boxing is about because he's a boxer that can really fight and can really do everything that you want to see somebody do in the ring. But unfortunately, because of the games being played by other boxers, he's not able to get the fight. And not just the boxers, the promoters and the people that don't want their guy to get in there with him. And his name is Jaron Ennis. And he is, in my opinion now, seeing as he could not get a fight on what they called an acceptable fight on the undercard of the David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade fight, couldn't get on that card because he couldn't find an acceptable opponent, which means, from my understanding, means that they wouldn't fight him. The second card for Javon that was supposed to be on December 9th is now canceled by Showtime, and they moved it to December 16th. And you have David Morrell, who's going to be the headliner on that particular card. And I have not heard of Jaron Ennis being on the undercard for David Morrell. Now, that's really good that it's David Morrell. It's very good that David Morrell, who's somebody else I think is very similar to Jaron Ennis, is getting about, in Minneapolis, Minnesota on that, in that card. However, where's Jaron Ennis? Now, as we sit up here and listen to a lot of nonsense that I'm hearing off of Twitter, which is, though the most popular fighters in all of boxing are Francis Ngannou and Jake Paul and Logan Paul and KSI. Number 5 most popular boxer right now is Canelo Alvarez. Absolutely ridiculousness. Because people keep making up these pay-per-view numbers right out of their backside. It's like the same crew of people that make up and claim that Gervonta Davis does 5 pay-per-views a show, and then it jumps up to 1.2, right? All out of the blue just because of Ryan. All of a sudden, there's 2 and 3, 4 pay-per-views that did more than Gervonta Davis, all out of the blue. Like this story going on around about Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury doing 1.5 million pay-per-views, when that number literally was given out as an estimate before the fight. But people are publishing it as like, oh, it's confirmed. It's ridiculous. But anyway, while all this is going on, this buffoonery, Tyson Fury versus Ngannou buffoonery, the KSI versus Tommy Fury buffoonery is going on. You got a guy like Jaron Ennis, who you have boxing fans out there actively saying, no, we don't want to see him fight Terrence Crawford because he's not ready. Terrence Crawford at this point of his career shouldn't be looking at fights like that. Terrence Crawford should be looking for the biggest payday so he can wrap it up and move on. So what should he look for? Let me get this right. So since the same group of bozos are out here saying that the biggest name fighter in all of boxing is Francis Ngannou and Tommy Fury and Jake Paul and Logan Paul, so we don't want to see Terrence Crawford fight Jaron Ennis. We want Terrence Crawford to fight who? Jake Paul? That's what Terrence Crawford should do? That's what's going on with boxing? Man, please. If Terrence Crawford isn't going to fight at 147, I don't care how old he is. I don't care how much money he wants to make. I don't care if you think Jaron Ennis is ready or not ready. He needs to fight the best fighter at that weight class. And if he stays at 147 and Errol Spence Jr. is gone from 147, or he wins the rematch for whatever reason, the best fighter at 147, other than the champion at 147, is Jaron Boots Ennis, and the fight needs to take place. And people are such hypocrites where you complain about, well, the best don't fight the best, but you're actively out here telling the best 147 pounder not to fight the best 147 pounder that's there. Well, you just want to fight him. You just want to see him fight because he beat Errol Spence. No. If he beat Errol Spence, therefore he proved he's the best 147 pounder. So since he's the best 147 pounder, who's the other best one? Jaron Ennis. That's why you want to see him fight. The same reason that people should want to see Terrence Crawford fight Jaron Ennis is the same reason they should have wanted to see Terrence Crawford fight Errol Spence. It's the same reason that you wanted to see Floyd Mayweather Jr. fight Manny Pacquiao, or Sugar Ray Leonard fight Tommy Hearns. And every other time you have the 2 best people in the weight division that you say they need to fight, but just the same people out here talking about how boxing is, how out here pitching nonsense that Francis Ngannou outsold Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis, and Jake and Tommy Fury and KSI outsold Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. When all out of the blue, you can sell 1.5 million, 1.7 million pay-per-views easily. All of a sudden, when it hadn't happened for years before that, and there were a bunch of crossover fights and stuff like that before that time that didn't get anywhere near those numbers. They just magically start appearing after Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia get it done. Now every other fight is passing it up. Just like all their fights were all failing before that. Man, you guys are super anti-boxing, faking, running around, talking like you are, but you're not. Anyway, frustrating situation for me to see this young man be in the same situation that Errol was in, where these guys are not fighting him and coming up with 1,000,001 excuses, and fans are backing him up on these 1,000,001 excuses for not doing so. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.